Welcome to episode 21 of Book Nerd Paradise, where we get to know an author as they tell us one of their favorite quotes, read from their work, pose a trivia question, and give away a book or two. Hi, I'm LRW Lee, author of the Andy Smithson Epic Fantasy Adventure Series. As always, the ebook of Book One, Blast the Dragon's Fury, is available for free download on either Amazon or Google Play or Barnes & Noble. So if you haven't already, please be sure to get yourself a copy. I'm also excited to announce that you can now take Book Nerd Paradise with you. That's right, Book Nerd Paradise episodes are now available for free download on the iTunes podcast store. So look for the channel there and take it with you wherever you go this summer. Today, we welcome YA fantasy co-authors Mary Crockett and Madelyn Rosenberg as our guests. This is the first time we've hosted two authors at the same time, so you're in for a treat, for sure. A native of the Shenandoah Valley of Virginia, Mary says she grew up as the youngest of 6 children in a family of misfits. She has worked as everything from a history museum director to a toilet seat hand model. Oh, that had to have been just wonderful. She's also an award-winning poet, professional eavesdropper, and the person who wipes runny noses. Mary likes turtles, licorice, and the Yankees. Madelyn, on the other hand, grew up in Southwest Virginia on a dead-end street with woods, a creek, and copious amounts of mud. After college, she moved back to Virginia, where she spent more than a decade at a daily newspaper writing stories about colorful, real-life characters. These days, she's making up characters of her own. She likes cats, avocados, and the Red Sox. Together, they say their friendship has survived 3 moves, 6 kids, and countless manuscript revisions. Please join me in welcoming Mary Crockett and Madelyn Rosenberg.
Hi. Hi, thanks for joining us.
You two will be reading your YA fantasy novel, Dream Boy. So that we can get a feel for the book, would you give us a brief synopsis?
I was my small town's biggest dreamer. You would be too if you lived in the middle of nowhere. But even I never dreamed that I'd see him. Not in real life. When dreams come true, how do you know what's real? How do you know who to trust? Because if dreams come true, so can nightmares.
So you've selected one of your favorite quotes, both of you have. Would you share what they are and then tell us why they're a favorite?
My favorite quote is, "With her sleek black hair and almond eyes, she looks like Cleopatra, accessorized with pom-poms instead of an asp." And the reason that I like that quote, when Mary and I wrote this book, we went back and forth and back and forth. And so where some things would start with some of us, the final product ended up pretty much every sentence being both of us. And so I like that quote for that reason, because I think it reflects that, and also because it kind of gets to the humor that's in the book. And when we went back and forth, we fought about everything, and, you know, funny arguments. And I think, you know, if we had written a contract in blood when we started writing, somewhere in the contract from me would have been like, okay, but it has to have humor in it. That's why I like that quote.
I've always been a dreamer. Daydreams, night dreams, dreams of grandeur, and dreams of escape. If I were an onion and you peeled back the papery outside, you'd find layer after layer of eye-watering dreams. And in the center, where there's that little curly hue of onion heart, there'd be a puff of smoke from the dreams that burned away. And Really, I just like onions. I think that's why I think my mom always would say, she was always like, onions purify the blood. And so when I think of onions, I think of her. She was a huge Vidalia onion fan, and I just always have been fascinated by the shape of onions and how they kind of curl in on themselves. So I think that's really the only reason I'm happy with that, because it reminds me of my mom.
Mary and Madelyn, you have a book giveaway going on Goodreads, as I understand it. Would you give us the details so viewers can participate?
That's right. It's super easy to do. There's a link right below here. It's going on through the entire month of August and maybe within the first week of September. Or you can go to Goodreads and search for Dream Boy Crockett Rosenberg, because there are a couple of books named Dream Boy. And if you find the book with the tree on it, click on that, and on that page there should be a giveaway link as well. So.
Great. Okay. Yeah, no, that should work. Cool. So since the giveaway is on Goodreads, I still encourage you to leave a comment on YouTube, specifically your Twitter handle, because Mary has made a very fun offer. She will come back next week and write a haiku composed from excerpts from your tweets. How about that? So please leave your Twitter handle, and let's see what she comes up with. So Madelyn and Mary, you'll be reading from Dream Boy, different sections. Would you briefly set up the portion you'll be reading from and then share your story with us?
And I'm going to read a little segment from the part near chapter 3. In this segment, Annabelle, our main character, is sitting in her chemistry class, and spoiler alert, the boy that she's been dreaming about walks in. I was still yawning through pre-calc, U.S. history, chemistry. X-ray crystallography captures the distinct lattice pattern of the crystal so we can see how the electrons that surround the atoms interact with the incoming X-ray photons. Mr. Earnshaw might as well have been speaking Xhosa, which is the only language I know of that begins with an X. It wasn't that I didn't like chemistry, or even that chemistry didn't like me. It was just Friday and last period, and come on, Mr. Earnshaw, can't you give us a break? To keep myself awake, I opened my Dream Dictionary app and read, once again, the entry for lake. According to dream guru Cynthia Rev, a lake meant either I was unable to express my emotions freely, or I had serenity and peace of mind. So which is it, Miss Rev, I thought, because repressed emotion does not exactly scream serenity. There was nothing for blue eyes, but under blue was birth and unavoidable change, while I was, vision. Annabelle, said Mr. Earnshaw, are you with us? I put the phone away, and to make it look like I was taking notes, I sketched a stink bug that was dead on the windowsill. Then I copied a list of the ingredients in diet soda. Mr. Earnshaw was great about letting us bring drinks into the classroom, as long as it wasn't a lab day. Plus, the list looked chemically. I figured that was like paying attention. Caffeine, aspartame, citric acid. The lab door opened, and I looked up and promptly stopped breathing. There he was, standing right by the door of the classroom, smiling, talking to Mr. Earnshaw like an ordinary person. Only he wasn't ordinary. He wasn't even a person. He was Josh, my Josh, the guy from my dream.
That's a great start. So Mary, what do you have for us?
Well, I'm skipping way ahead to chapter 25. So that was like chapter 3. Like the tagline says, you know, if dreams come true, so can nightmares. And the main character, Annabelle, starts having nightmares as well as having just regular dreams. And in some of them, there is a young girl that she's kind of caught glimpses of, and she sees her a little bit better in this segment. I'm running down a path in the woods. It is dark, thick with moss. The trees on each side of the path grow dense and gnarled. Behind me, there is a dull scraping, like something being dragged across the forest floor. Scraps of far-off music shuttle along in the wind. Ahead, a hazy light pulses. I sprint toward it. The path opens, and I burst into a clearing. In the center, on the large flat stump of a tree, sits the girl in the white dress. She sews something, the needle pulling taut and then looping back. A wisp of smoke rises in the air, and she begins to hum under her breath. A lullaby? The distant music in the woods, the murmurs caught like torn paper in the wind, had been hers. She doesn't look up, though I sense she knows I'm there. In her lap, I see what she is working on, a dirty rag doll with brown yarn hair and broken button eyes. She is sewing thick red stitches along the side of the doll's neck. "Martin," I shout. He can tell me why this girl is haunting my dreams. He can tell me what I need to do. And then he is there, without warning, like a jump in a snippet of film. Not exactly himself, but a sort of hologram. I feel like I am watching him through a pane of tinted glass. He stands on the other side of the girl, facing her, facing me. I can tell he wants to come to me, but he doesn't or can't move. I stop, catch my breath. What is it? The girl's voice is in my head, small, like a bird. That's right. Ask him. He knows. She stands and for the first time looks at me. Only her eyes are wrong. They don't fit that little girl face. They are an old lady's eyes, washed out, so pale that they'd almost turned completely white. Worst of all, they are pricked with a tiny red pupil, like when someone takes a photograph and the flash isn't quite right. She walks to where I am on the edge of the clearing. I feel a clammy sickness in my gut. Her voice rises and deepens in my mind. "I'm gonna get you." She holds up the rag doll and turns it to face Martin. "I'm going to be you."
Okay, just a little suspense going here. The listeners will have to definitely buy a copy of the book in order to find out what happens, huh? Our guest author last week, YA sci-fi and fantasy author Sherry Ficklin, posed a trivia question.
So my trivia question was, where is Nikola Tesla originally from? And he is from Simbilan, Croatia.
Oh, Mary and Madelyn, you both have trivia questions for our listeners. Would you share those with us?
My trivia question is one of those real-life facts that we put in the book about dreams, which is, what is the average number of dreams that a person over the age of 10 has each night?
Well, that's a great question. I have no clue, so I guess we'll be interested to hear what that answer is. Okay, so Mary, what is your trivia question?
As well as drawing from research for the book, we also used real-life experiences and real places. Even though Dream Boy is set in a fictional town, Chilton, in southwestern Virginia, it still is based somewhat on certain communities around here. And we actually pulled from Roanoke, Virginia, which is kind of the big city in southwestern Virginia, and put it in the small town, a place called, well, in the book we call it the Texas Grill, but it's a real old restaurant that is in Roanoke, Virginia. It's kind of a historic landmark. What is the name of the real Texas Grill is my trivia question.
Make sure that you tune in next episode to find out what the answer to both Mary and Madelyn's trivia questions are. They will definitely prove interesting, I'm sure. Are there any final thoughts you'd like to leave with our listeners?
First of all, thank you, everybody who tuned in and listened to us. It was nice to be here. A little bit of a plug. I found that a lot of readers that I know are also writers. And so one of the things that I have been doing this summer on my blog has been putting up writing prompts. And there's a different prompt for each week of summer. So by the time I'm done, there will be 11 weeks worth of writing prompts, and each week has a whole bunch. So if you go to www.madelynrosenberg.com and you look under my blog, you will find a bunch of things that are really great prompts for keeping a journal for both kids and adults. So thanks.
Great. Awesome. Okay. And Mary, what say you?
Well, I also want to thank you and thank folks out here watching this. Hi, thanks for watching. I, on my blog, marycrockett.com, have been doing something called the Wednesday Muse, And it's a blogging, actually, that author Vanessa Barger has put together, where she emails out a prompt to everyone once a week, everyone who's involved in this blog, and anyone's invited to be involved. Just kind of leave a comment on my website, and I'll get your information to Vanessa, and you can join in.
Excellent. All right. So lots of encouragement for aspiring writers or people who are actually doing it. So for improving your craft. Always important. Very good. Very good. Well, I hope you have enjoyed getting to know Mary Crockett and Madelyn Rosenberg just a little bit. I'm LRW Lee, author of the Andy Smithson Epic Fantasy Adventure Series. As I mentioned before, Blast of the Dragon's Fury, the first book of the series, is available for free download, so be sure to get a copy.
Click the button to subscribe to the Book Nerd Paradise YouTube channel so you don't miss upcoming authors, giveaways, and answers to trivia questions.
Thanks so much for watching. I hope you've enjoyed today's episode, and I look forward to seeing you again next Monday.